power is when an individual of higher position, authority, decides to take an unjust advantage of someone else who happens to find themselves in a lower position or a subordinate to them. And abuse of power can happen in several forms. One of the main forms that it can take place is sexual harassment. That is when you find yourself in a situation where someone comes to ask you for sexual favors, sexual requests, or they act in a way that suggests sexual flirtation and what have you. And it can be very unpleasant to find yourself in a situation where you do not want to be treated in a sexual manner that you haven't consented to. And especially when it happens in a place that your daily bread is concerned, your livelihood. It becomes very dicey whether you choose to leave the situation, you choose to stay, and if you choose to stay, how do you manage this uncomfortable situation? My name is Evie, and I welcome you to yet another exciting episode of Real Talk here at the studios of Hope TV Ghana. Real Talk is a space where we have real conversations with real people, and so I encourage all of us to be part of the interaction by going live on our Facebook and YouTube, Hope TV Ghana. Leave your comments, your thoughts under the comment section, and I will make sure that I read some of your comments if the time permits. So before we go into the story today, clearly you can have an idea what we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about sexual harassment. We are going to talk about the power of abuse, and for this specific situation in the settings of an office space, settings of a workplace. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce my panelists to you. Clearly, I can't do this alone. To have a conversation that is impactful, that is meaningful, I can't do this alone. I have to introduce my guests to you. And in the studio with me, I have Pastor Prince Okulete. Pastor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well by God's grace.
Okay, how has your week been?
Oh, by God's grace, it's
been good,
wonderful.
Right? We thank God, we thank God. And then a beautiful lady joining me as well, Miss Peggy Edem Amechia. Did I get it right?
Yes,
yeah. The number 9s are in the studio.
I know, right?
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well by God's grace.
That's cool. How has your week been?
Oh, hectic.
I know you're
School,
a student
class.
at VVU, so like your schedules are all over the place.
Of course.
What are you studying though?
Okay, so I'm studying Bachelor of Science in Midwifery.
Oh, I see. Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am. I am actually doing that. Well, the thing is, I am doing the enjoyment when I am free, but in class, it's a whole thing on its own.
Okay, please explain that. How exactly?
Okay, so when you look at your daily schedule, we have 7 a.m. class to 9:30, then you move to 10 to 12, then 2 to 4. After that, you wouldn't even have any time to rest.
Yeah.
Then you have assignments from all the lecturers. Oh my God.
So it's a lot of work.
Yes.
You see, this is why you have to respect our midwives. They go through a lot to get their degrees. But you're doing a good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so we would like to go through our story, make sure we know what you're talking about before we delve into the conversation. This is a story we have titled, Trapped in Fear. How do I escape this nightmare? It says, hello, Real Talk. I never imagined I would find myself in such a terrifying situation. I secured a job at a well-respected company through my brother's friend, believing it was a great opportunity to build my future. But what seemed like a blessing quickly turned into a nightmare. Not long after I started, my boss made a strange request. He asked for a hug when I went to his office to deliver a letter. At the time, I thought it was just a harmless gesture. I didn't want to seem rude, so I complied, unaware of what was to come. A few days later, he called me back to his office, but this time, what I saw left me paralyzed. He was completely naked and demanded sex. He threatened to hurt me if I refused. I was alone, trapped and terrified. My mind raced between two choices: resist and possibly be harmed, or submit and escape with my life. Out of fear, I gave in and ran as soon as I could. I haven't been the same since that day. Shortly after, I was promoted to a position I knew I didn't deserve. It wasn't a reward, it was a chain keeping me tied to a toxic environment. I wanted to escape. I felt dirty, guilty, and ashamed. I tried to endure, thinking maybe I could move past it. But every time I stepped into the office, I felt like I was suffocating. I finally gathered the courage to resign. But just when I thought I could break free, my boss made it clear I wasn't allowed to leave. He threatened me with serious consequences if I walked away. Now I feel trapped, afraid for my life, and helpless about what to do next. Real talk, how do I protect myself? What steps can I take to seek justice in a system that often silences victims like me? I need help. This is a rather sad situation, and it's one that I wouldn't wish anybody to find themselves in. But unfortunately, our lady who sent her letter finds herself in this situation, and she's hoping that with some sort of guidance and some sort of tips here and there, we can help her get out of this nightmare as she describes it. So we are going to go straight into the conversation and then see how best we can help her. So I'm going to start with you, Pastor. Workplace and sexual harassment. I mean, this is not the first story we have heard. We've heard several stories of people coming out to say it's either their boss or even a colleague coming at them in ways they do not want. And I would obviously take your general take on the story. After hearing the story, what comes to mind immediately? And sexual harassment, how often does this happen to people, and why do they remain silent, especially in a part of the world, Ghana?
Oh, okay. Actually, in fact, this particular story we are looking at, it has become rampant in our society, and there is the need for us to, voice out so that the human rights of women will be protected. And so, looking at this particular story that we are looking at, in fact, it's going on all over in our workplaces, in our society, in various institutions. It is happening here and there, of which there is a legal way or a way that we can also, administer to ensure that such things are being resolved.
Right, thank you. Before we go into the legal ways to solve it, Peggy, I'll come to you. I'll ask your take on the story, and then you find yourself in an institution where you have like people that are supposed to be your lecturers, your head. I don't know if you've heard anything like that, if you've come across somebody has shared that with you. But I'll again ask, how often do you hear these things in our part of the world, and why do the victims remain silent?
Thank you very much. Okay, so personally, a friend shared with me that she had gone through this, but I wasn't in an office or the institution, but it was like she was done with SHS and she was being a caretaker to someone. Okay. So the wife of the person left and she was with the children, but off and on the husband comes around. Okay. So yes, so because the man will pay her for caring for the children, she had to keep quiet, or because she's keeping, like, making the savings for university. So if she's going to keep quiet, where is she going to get the money? And she thought of it as well, that is the house mistress going to really understand her situation if she says it's her husband who is doing this thing, to also be a disappointment. She being a lady, she thought of it and was like, no. So I think it comes with the fear of being judged and societal judgment as well, both of them.
I completely agree with what you're saying. And usually this happens to people that find themselves in vulnerable positions. I don't think anybody is going to walk up to somebody that has some say to say, I want to do. It always happens to people that find themselves in situations where the other feel they can take advantage of them. Like this girl, where she gets the job, she's excited, and the boss is doing all of that. I mean, we'll go into the story and how she could have, whether she should have said yes to the first hug or not. But let's look at the legal protections that exist for people facing sexual harassment. I know none of you are lawyers, but I know that we all have an idea what the law says about this and how they can be helped. Pastor.
Actually, I think with such situation, people can seek for legal support. For instance, we have the Ghana Labor Act, which is Act 223, that people will be able to follow. And also we have what we call the domestic violence protections, of which is guiding people who are in a particular institutions when they are being victimized with such incidents. Yeah, I think we have such a legal way that people can actually follow. In fact, these things that we are talking about is going on. Even in a particular institution just recently, an incident also happened similar way. Okay. That's in a actual sense, the lady is supposed to follow the right channel to address the issue, but she went straight to the police to, you know, report the incident to the police, and the issue escalated in the school, and the school has to actually deal with the police about the incident. So that is the way that we can go and, you know, solving such problems.
Okay, I think even in this situation that you just shared, where the person didn't know where to go, but they knew that there was police that could help, and she went straight to go and report. I think that's great. But then my question is, this is a work organization. Where is HR? Okay, maybe it's a small business where the boss is like he's HR, he's accountant, he's everything, and so you are scared what to do. But in organizations that have proper structures in place, you can go to the HR and then make the complaints, at least make sure it's on record that you have complained that this person is doing this. Keep a record of the letter you are sending to the HR. Make sure you have that evidence. Go to the HR. If nothing is done about it, then you can escalate and bring in other bodies. But Peggy, do you have anything to say to that regard?
Okay, so just as you said, there should be an HR, because every company should have humans trying to guard them, I mean, in the company. So in case the management didn't have something like that, that's when she could move to following the laws of Ghana. So that's Labor Act 2003. That's Act 651. It talks about the human rights of women and also domestic violence. So she could either go to that part or move and report to SHRAJ, which would help her get the situation solved. But the situation she finds herself, immediately, what should she do? That's the main thing we are looking at. But the harm has already been done concerning, our lady.
So when you say immediately what she should do, what comes to your mind?
You see, she had two, let me say, things she could do. He said she could actually yield in and get her life like intact. Yes. Then the other is saying resisting, but she would have to bear the consequences, or she'll be harmed. So if she doesn't want to be harmed, then she got the job not long ago. It was a recent thing by her brother. So first of all, I even thought, is her brother aware of how the boss is before going there? Well, we can't tell because it wasn't said in the story. So these two things are in her, on her table.
It's dicey.
It is. It's
not as straightforward as somebody who is listening would hear. But I wanted to come in and say that SHRAJ, for anybody that's just watching, is Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. This is an institution where you can go and make these reports, and they will find you somebody to help you, somebody to take your case and work through it. Yes, just before I continue, you were saying.
Okay, so as I said, she wanted the job. In fact, she wanted to stay in the job. So I wouldn't judge her for giving in. Yes, I wouldn't judge her for giving in. Not to say we should always give in. No. We shouldn't even give in. But because she didn't know what to do at that moment and she did that, I'm really sorry for her concerning giving in.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, and it makes sense. And sometimes when you find yourself in that situation, and you're deciding whether to give in or what to give in, I think in that moment you just think of the problems you have.
Yes.
Oh, I don't, there's no food to eat. I don't have money. I have no savings, and this is the job I've gotten in a long time. I'm now about to save money. He only asked for a hug. That's nothing. Let me just give in and give him a hug. But what I know and what I have noticed is that when people, they start out very slowly. They start out with the most mundane request, holding your hand, asking for a hug, asking you to be in their office to do, asking for coffee. Just the most random things that if you raise an alarm, you would seem problematic because it's not a big deal. And then it progresses. And that is where, and I believe it is in the beginning that you would have to make the decision whether you follow or toe the line that the man has clearly set out, or you would not. We'll have to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the psychological and emotional aspect of the story. We'll be right back. This is Real Talk. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back from that quick break. We are still in the studios of Hope TV Ghana, coming your way with Real Talk. You can join us live on Facebook and YouTube, Hope TV Ghana. You can leave your comments, your thoughts, your suggestions, and we will take a look at them. And if you just joined us, we are discussing this rather sad story that was sent to us by a young lady. And she finds herself in a situation where she is in a business or a company and her boss is taking undue advantage of her sexually. And so she gets this job and there's this boss who is asking for hugs today, and the next minute she goes into his office and he's stuck naked asking for sex. And in her mind she's thinking, if I run away, if I say no, he can harm me, and if I say yes, I can just do what he's asking me to do and run away. And so to her, that was the best decision or the best choice she had to make, was to say yes and run. And after she felt very guilty and decided to leave the company. But the boss decides to threaten her and tells her it's either she is staying or face consequences that she is not ready for. And we've been having this conversation, trying to come up with ways where we can help this young lady. We've been doing this with Pastor Prince Okulete, and then also Miss Peggy Edem Amechia. And we are going to go right into the conversation and look at the psychological and emotional abuse, sexual harassment, and power abuse comes with. Pastor, I'll come to you. What are some of the effects of being forced into such a situation where the victim is clearly going through trauma? And how can such a person heal psychologically and emotionally?
Okay, in fact, there are a lot of negative implications on that. Mm-hmm. You see, as you go through that, you will be depressed, you will feel anxiety because you will not feel comfortable at the workplace as you find yourself in such situation. And one thing that this lady could do is to ensure that she will be able to seek for professional guidance, okay, by a counselor counseling her so that she will feel comfortable, because the boss is actually threatening her life. Yeah. Okay. She's in a current situation of which it has become difficult for her to work at that particular area that she is in need. So for the psychological and the emotional attention, he can seek for a counselor who will help him, about that, so that he will be sound, get a peace of mind, either to leave and get another job, or he will maintain that particular place, but she will be psychologically sound and emotionally okay as she continues her work. Right.
Peggy, you mentioned about someone in a situation who shared their story with you, and they said the shame and the guilt of not being believed made her not speak up. I want to ask, is the person out of that situation? Do you know?
Okay, the last time I asked her, she said she didn't report it.
Okay.
But later, when I also learned about this, and I told her about it, and she said, well, it is past and gone, so she thinks she'll just need to work on herself. And I asked, what is she doing? She said she's just trying to forget. And I said, you can't forget such an issue, because when maybe you meet the person somewhere, you get a flashback.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. So personally, I learned about depression.
Is she still in the situation? The person?
She left.
She's out
She
of it.
left
Okay.
the place.
Okay, but she never reported. She never told
Yes.
the wife. She
Yes.
just left. Okay.
Yes. She just left.
Yeah, and you're saying personally you've learned about depression.
Depression. And I sometimes when I talk to her and compare it to the previous time I used to know her, like she's this sad.
Okay.
Yes. And when we look at our situation right now, when we talk about the psychological and emotional impact, I'm sure our lady speaking to us today is also going through something of depression.
Yeah.
And that's persistent sadness. And it won't help if you are just quiet about it. You need to seek professional help, just as our pastor said. And you can't do that alone. You need to master the courage, because sometimes if you are going there, you feel they'll judge you. You just feel they'll judge you. So someone will say, then I'll have to keep quiet about it.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be the case. You really need to go. Take the bold step and move to the counselor. And I know whoever is the counselor will know the kind of diversional therapies to give you to change that kind of sadness. When you feel you are sad, person will say maybe go and do the kind of there is this operational therapy which has to do with sewing, learning new skills.
Okay.
So though the lady is working in that company, I'm sure she has like a closing time. But if she's there, what does she do to make her feel she's fine? Would people see her and be like, ah, now you've changed? What will she do to try and wipe that you've changed kind of topic out? I think she would still have to sometimes listen to music whilst at work. Now we have AirPods. Yes, by God's grace, we have AirPods. I think she can put like stack one in and be listening to it whilst to change this kind of thing. So she's diverting her emotions, because we have other hormones that will come to play to make you feel happy. Right. So I think she should look at these things to help her in that situation.
But should she stay in this situation? Is this a situation she should stay in and say, oh, because he has threatened me and I am afraid, is she going to keep staying there and be doing every bidding of the boss just when he wants, how he wants it, wherever he wants it? Is this something she should put herself through?
Actually, there could be a way out, okay?
Okay.
For all that we are discussing now, you see the lady currently now, she has been promoted per the story.
Yes.
Okay. She has been promoted, but she's uncomfortable with the promotion that has, happened. And so I think as we are discussing in the first place, as she seek for a counselor, she can find her way out by seeking for another job at a different place, different place, and that will be able to actually help her to overcome such, depression as she's going through.
But the boss is saying that if you leave, you face consequences.
The consequences.
So how can she do this safely? How can she do this without him saying or doing whatever consequences that he has planned for when she decides to leave?
Okay, so I would say just as we've told her earlier that she should go and report to SHRAJ and FIDA or any other authority concerning this domestic violence. Sorry, this one is labor. So labor. I think as she's doing that, she would have the, let me say, law backing her. So though she's being threatened by the boss, before she will leave, she would have this backing her. Anything the boss would want to do, he will also be harmed because she has the law backing her.
Yeah.
So I would, advise she actually sends maybe letters outside to go and look for another job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think she should report this threat to the necessary
Of course.
authorities if it's police, so they know that if anything should happen to her, whether he did it or not, he has threatened her before, and so he should be held accountable. When she has this on record, and she, hopefully the boss doesn't know where she stays, so that if she leaves, he can't come and be looking for her. Because if she has this and she has reported and it's on record that if anything happens to her, he will be held accountable. I think that would also put fear in the boss.
Yes.
And for all you know, he's just bluffing. I mean, he's seen that she wants to, and so he's just saying things to make her afraid. And he's feeding on her fear to keep her in the position. And if it's guilt and you're ashamed and you don't even think you deserve the promotion you've gotten, I don't think you should stay in that situation.
Sure.
It's unfortunate you gave in the first time, but do not continue to stay and be used anyhow just because you're afraid to move. How would you know there will be solution if you don't move? And I like the question you asked about the brother. Does the brother know this boss, or is just a random job listing he came across and decided that, oh, you should apply, and then she got it? We can't talk about this story and not talk about faith, being a faith-based channel. And so, Pastor, this one I'll come to you at your doorstep, and then I'll let Peggy chip in as and when she can. But how can the church and community support victims of sexual harassment or abuse? Sometimes it's the people you talk to. For all you know, she can't talk to anybody else in the office, not even HR, but she can, like the way the friend was able to tell you, she can tell somebody in the church. In that instance, how can the church support? Is that when it becomes a topic to be discussed under trees after Sabbath service? Is that when it becomes a topic for sermon on Sabbath divine service, talking about how somebody is that, like, how can the church support such victims?
Okay, I think the church can support this particular lady, okay, by she telling the pastor or a person that she trusted that the person will not send the issue to the church for everyone to discuss it on board, okay. And the community too, we can do our best by actually seeking for a place that the lady can also work for her daily bread, okay. That is the support that we can actually offer. And as the pastor talk to her continually, I think the emotional pains and trauma will come down as they support in that manner, in such way.
Do we even have a community in the church for such cases? I mean, it didn't happen in the church, yes. But as members of a church, if you're going through anything that is psychologically draining you, depression, is there a community structured in the church that you can identify and say, I'm going to go here and they are going to help me?
Yeah, actually, the pastor is there, and also the home and family, they are also there, that you can inform them so that they will follow up for you. They will help you in seeking for the legal support. Okay, they will be helping you by leading you to that trend. So I think that is what they can do about that. By maybe where the lady is staying, they can get a place, maybe a rent or a different place for her. If it is closer to where the boss or the work is, that is fine.
And for all you know, they can get her a new job.
Sure.
You never know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was about saying that.
Go on.
Okay, so I think looking at the church, we should have, we have a committee like welfare. Though normally people say it's for death, it's for
weddings.
Yes, and weddings, outdooring. But I think, yes, such situations like this too could be chipped in, where we'll have people come and tell their story, then they'll know how to help. So right now, I think her problem is with money. That's how come she's still in the job. So why don't she solicit for funds from the church? I'm sure one day they can even make an offering that they are helping someone in what's the name, a situation, but they might not come out saying the situation. Yes, yes. So that particular money could help her even leave where she's staying to another place, as she's also looking for a job. And aside that too, because she's the one going through the situation, I think she also needs to go to God personally, because in Joshua 1:9, my favorite text.
Okay.
Yes. It's saying that, I'm paraphrasing right now,
right,
that you should not be, you shouldn't fear, you should be courageous.
Yeah.
And if you do that, God is going to always be with you. So, as I said, she should take the first step. I'm hoping, as she has gone to the church to go and tell them about it, should also comfort herself by reading the Bible and always asking God to, because if you pray to God, the Holy Spirit will guide you to, I'm sure the Holy Spirit will even guide her to send her letter to this particular company, and she'll be hired at that side, and it will help her.
Yeah, prayer is key.
Yes,
There's no doubt. Prayer is key. She should pray in this situation. But let's look at the other side of the story, the boss. What are some of the reasons why some bosses, some people in authority, will decide to just become demons in the life of the people that they supervise or the people that they head, their subordinates? What would make a man who is in such position decide that this young girl that has come looking for a job, I am going to frustrate her life? What are some of the reasons why even some women do this, women in position, higher positions? What are some of the reasons why individuals decide to just take undue advantage of people? Is it witchcraft? Is it that they are just pure evil? Is it the thrill it comes? Why would people behave like this?
Okay, actually, we have it in mind that we are living in a sinful world, and there are a lot of things that are happening here and there. But we can also have self-control, okay, by controlling ourselves, not allowing the devil to use that in so many ways, by approaching someone who is working under you, and you are just enforcing the person to have sexual intercourse with you. You get it? So, and also one thing that we need to also talk about is law enforcement. If the law there is being enforced, okay, people will fear to do that, because the law is protecting the citizens, is protecting the people within that particular institution. So you will not take advantage by doing that, by just harassing someone. There should be anti-harassment policies in the workplaces, of which will protect each and every one, especially women. Yeah,
I think every institution or businesses have laid down rules that state what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And the boss of all people should know. It's because they think they are the boss, they can just flout the rules and do whatever they want to say. Miss Peggy, what do you have to say about bosses, whether men or women, who look down and decide that, oh, as for you, I'm going to lecturers, let's bring it home, let's practicalize it for your situation. Lecturers who will say, I'll continue to give you F until you resit this paper, you never pass, just because I want this from you, you are saying no, because I say so. And you are looking at your life, you're looking at how you want to progress, you're looking at the 4 years. If you keep resitting just one paper, you think there's nothing you can do about the situation, because the person in authority has decided to become the devil in your life.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll start with the last question and move. So looking at the institution where we are studying, I would say, if you have a situation like this, we have not heard any yet, but
are you sure?
Yeah, I said personally, I've not heard anything like that.
We believe you.
Okay, so but if there is a situation like that, she's not the lecturer is not the only one in authority. Yes, because the lecturer is working under, let me say, the council or the board. Yes. So if there is a situation like this, we have a student's handbook which has policies concerning students, concerning the lecturers and any other workers yes, in the institution. So if I failed first, second, personally knowing I've studied, why should I go and get an F?
Yeah.
Fine, as absenteeism, I think they said twice, should make you totally fail the course. That's what they say.
Okay.
So if I have
if you're absent twice
yes,
in the semester,
yes,
you
without let me say a letter, permission letter, for us to know why I didn't come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But if I've done that, why should I what's the name, get an F whilst I've studied, I've come to class? If there is something like a sentiment you are having or a grudge you have on me, why should I fail my course because of that? If you failed me first, I've recited the paper, I'm going to write again. I would want to know why I'm failing this course because I know I've studied.
Yeah.
I'll send it to, if she's just a lecturer or he's just a lecturer, I'll send it to probably the faculty advisor, then maybe the HOD. So if all these people, I'm not seeing anything, I can probe further to the Dean of Students' Life because the person is for students. If she also doesn't, then you move to the higher authority. So if there's a situation like this, fine, we have a boss. And we don't know if the boss is actually the CEO of the company because it might be a small,
it might be a small business. Yeah,
yes.
right.
So if it's not a small business, I think she needs to know that in the policies there are things covering her as an employee. Yes, and work towards it. So if I've already given, it doesn't mean I should continue to give in. Yes, so I would go in. Now we said when we document something, that means we are supposed to apply or follow it.
Yeah.
So if you are following suit, you need to send all these things to the authority to say the boss, though he has power, I also have power because I'm working for you.
Yeah.
Yes, we all need to know our self-worth. If you don't know that, like that's when people will trample over you and use it anyhow. So she needs to know that if policies are there, she needs to go into her books, look at them and tell the boss, this is it. But mostly why bosses do that, I think it's just because of power. And if they know the employees or other subordinates don't know their rights here, that's when they use their power over theirs, which is bad.
What if it's a one-man business like that? Those one-man business where you go and then there's no secretary, there's the boss, and then it is you. Because for him to be naked in the office, come on, is it that it's one structure? And then the girl, is she the secretary? I don't even understand. And so they've set up the structure, and then he's the only one in the office. Because how would he be so confident to know that nobody else can walk in? Is it just the two of them? If it is a situation like this and there's no structure for her to go through with the policies and they didn't even, goodness, they may not even have any handbook. How will she address this? First, I don't know if you want to come in while Peggy puts her thoughts together.
I think as we've already established the fact that if the person is going through such situation, in the first place, she needs to advise herself by maybe just leaving that particular job. Okay, that is the only alternative, the only option that you can decide that I have to leave because it will continue. You see, and it did not started by only just going straight by having sex, but it started by hugging.
Yes.
Okay, and
Why
it went on. Yes. You see,
hey,
so
boss.
when it comes in that way, you have to advise yourself by either leaving or you report it to someone that you are also trusted that you are working with.
Yeah. Peggy, any thoughts before we go for another break?
Well, since we are saying in case it's a one-man business, I still think she needs to look at her self-worth and walk away because she can't continue staying there.
No, she can't.
Yes, she will die.
Yeah,
it's
she
true.
needs to report him.
Yes.
Regardless of the threat, she needs to report him. She needs to record him, get evidence, and
accountability.
Yes, and send it to the proper authorities that we've spoken, the SHRAJ, the Legal Aid, the Labor Act law, what it says. There are so many, and even in the churches, we have people in law and things that will be willing to take in case if it's money and there are also a lot of law.
Fine.
Yes, that will not take money. They are pro bonos. They will take it for free. And we even have a lot of law institutions that take these cases on. The ones that are against harassment, women and abuse of women and children. They will take it. Is it FIDA? I think yes.
FIDA.
They will take it up for you, and then they will make sure that the boss will regret what he did. And even if it is money for you, you can even get compensation while you put yourself together and get another job. We have to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at how she can forgive herself. Because clearly she's talking about how she feels the guilt and the shame. She doesn't think she deserves the position because it wasn't from merit. It was from a favor that she did the boss. And then we'll look at finally what she has to do. And then our final thoughts and comments on the story. Be right back after this break. This is Real Talk. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back from that quick break. We are still in the studios of Hope TV Ghana, coming your way with Real Talk. And we've been having the conversation. If you just joined, you've missed about more than half of the show. But not to worry, there's always a recap on Hope TV, and so you can catch the repeat. And if you just joined, you can listen to the rest of the story and the conversation as we go on. I have been doing this with Miss Peggy and Pastor Prince, and we've been talking about this lady's story, rather unfortunate, is on sexual harassment and abuse of power in the workplace. And her boss is taking advantage of her, asking her to stay and do things that are just crazy. She walks into his office and he's naked, asking for sex, and she doesn't know what to do after giving in, whether to stay, to run. Boss is threatening her. It's just crazy all over the place. And before we went to the break, I was talking about how she can forgive herself, because she looks, it sounds as if she's stuck in this circle of guilt and shame, where she's thinking, I have already done it, I shouldn't have, and now I know I didn't do well, and so I don't know what to do. She's probably going through depression, probably stuck in this lifelong thinking of what she will do next and how nobody will believe her and how the boss can threaten her. She's just going through a lot in her head. And I know that forgiveness must happen for her to even try to move on from this situation, for her to even be able to look at herself again and be proud of herself again. How can she forgive herself in this situation, Pastor?
Actually, she can forgive herself by, saying that, okay, the incident has already happened and the harm has already been caused. So the only thing that she will move forward and ask God for, guidance and, protections. When you pray and seek for the interventions of God, okay, God always comes in. Okay, when you read I think 1 John chapter 1 verse 9, he says that he is faithful and just to forgive us and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So as you confess it unto God, you feel released and you feel okay. And by forgiving the boss, that's okay, it has happened, so I should let it go by moving forward my life. You get it? Yeah. So the best way is to seek for God in prayer, and also forgive the boss by going through the normal process as we are already discussed, by seeking the legal and other stuff. Okay.
Pastor, can she forgive the boss? Yeah. This man, Even the law will not forgive him.
Yeah.
Can she forgive him?
Actually, yes, she can forgive, but she needs to go through the necessary procedures, the necessary places for support. Okay, professionally, she needs to go through that process. But emotionally, she needs to, forgive the boss. If not, the depression and the anxiety will continue to persist. You get it? It will continue to persist. So that is the only way that she can.
That's the only way that she can find peace. Miss Peggy, do you think she can forgive the boss, and how does she forgive herself? But before you go into that, have you spoken to your friend about forgiveness? Where is she now? Has she forgiven the husband of her madam? Has she forgiven herself?
Yes, she has. I remember I called her last year, December, ending last year. And she told me she had moved on, like with the whole, and I asked her how she did it. She was like, I was recommending her to read books, and she's doing them.
Okay.
You see, if you want to go to a counselor, we actually are fortunate, I mean the church, that we have a lot of people in the church where when it comes to Sabbath after church, you can have these conversations with them. If they are lawyers, they can just give you a free tip instead of going to pay. Yes, so from school, hearing some of the advice they give us, I decided to lend it to her too.
Okay.
So I told her to read books. Then I gave her some books to read. Then aside that, it's still about you.
Yeah.
Yes. If you really need to move on, you need to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't forgive yourself, you can't forgive the other person. Even they do unto others what you want. So, yes, if you don't forgive yourself, you can't forgive somebody. So, there's a quote here saying you may not control all the events that happens to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them.
Okay.
I'm reading it again. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. So fine, you've been in this situation, but I would want to let her know she's not the only one who have gone through.
Sure.
Someone might even go through something worse than this. Yes, and I'm sure the person has moved on. Moving on, you need to forgive yourself first before you forgive the other person. And if this kind of things come to mind, you just need to brush it off by doing other stuff, just as I said, the diversional therapy and other therapies. But with that one, you would have to go to the professional to help you. Yes.
Yeah. You have to go to the professional to help you. I agree. And my only concern is that we should make therapy and going to the counselors very common in our society. It's so sad. Some people are so ignorant that when you say you're seeing a counselor, they ask, and they ask Adewa Bodamana.
Yes.
So they don't even know the difference between a psychologist and then
a counselor.
Yes, like a therapist. Like there are so many ways for you to talk to a counselor. I think society has to be educated on that
Very
for them to know that the same way you go to the hospital for your head. If you have a headache, if your tummy is hurting, nobody will look at you weird if you are saying I'm going to the hospital because I have a headache. So why should you look at me weird if I tell you I'm going to see a counselor because I have psychological needs? How am I supposed to solve that? I think as a society we have to learn that, and we have to be accepting, because sometimes even the ridicule and the mockery will prevent people from finding the help that they will need. But Pastor, I want you to look into the camera. I think that is your camera.
Okay.
Talk to this boss. Speak some sense into his head. Him and all his cohorts of lawbreakers who decide to take this as a job to frustrate individuals that come to work for them, lectures, whatever. Miss Peggy, think about it. I would also want you to speak from the perspective of a young lady who I believe will be looking for a job very soon. And God forbid, you will not find, even if you do find yourself, you will run because you know your self-worth and you will
be like Joseph.
Exactly, you will flee from the temptation.
Yes.
And so, Pastor, right after you, Joseph.
So,
Miss Peggy,
actually, we have to be very careful, okay? It's an advice to all of us that if someone is working under you, you are not there to take advantage of the person by, violating the person's human right. Okay. So we have to be very careful. If not, when the law, there is a saying that when the law catches you, you be in trouble. In fact, you will be in trouble. And so we have to be very extra careful by not undermining the integrity of others, especially women. Women that are working under us. We need to respect them. We need to give them the maximum room for them to operate by not, disturbing them sexually. Sure.
Miss Peggy.
Okay, thank you very much. So to bosses and other people in authority, I think I would want you to know that the fact that you have power doesn't mean you tremble on, let me say, the others who are under you. It's really not a good thing. Because imagine you were in the person's shoes. Would you like to be a victim? I think you wouldn't like it. So you need to do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And aside that, if you think the structure or company is yours, so the government can't do anything about it, we are having laws that would govern, the individuals who are employees to your company.
Sure.
And you would know that ignorance of the law is also not an excuse.
Yes.
You would actually be fined for all this you are doing. So you need to stop, put a stop to it. You also need to ask God for forgiveness.
Sure.
And a change in heart. It will help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Your final words to the lady so that we can
Okay,
go.
so for the lady, I would like to say that you should continue to, forgive herself, and also seek for the necessary support as we've, established here. And should continue to seek God's guidance as we've established, that God is with us. When you read Isaiah chapter 41, I think verse 10, that we should fear not, God is with us. Yes, we should fear not. I think I have to quote it. He said that fear not, for I am with thee. Be not be dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. So God is with her. No matter what she is going through now, she exercise patience and everything will be okay for her.
Miss Peggy.
Okay,
To her and then to your friend as well.
Okay, that's fine. To our ladies and other victims going through this, what I can tell you is that you should really know your self-worth. Know that you are valued. God values you. That's why you are even having the opportunity to have this kind of talk show, talk about your situation. So you really need to tell yourself, I need to put on confidence to move out of this kind of trap where you feel I'm guilty, so I can't do anything. This is not the end of the world. You really, really need to move on. Move on by forgiving yourself. And who knows, the reason why you might have gone through this situation is to also help someone very soon, because we are in a social world and I know people have gone through this. That's how come we even had knowledge about situations like this to help you too. So please move on from this situation. Forgive yourself. Read books to be able to help you. And aside that, always ask God to strengthen you to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for joining me to have this conversation. Pastor, thank you for your presence. Miss Peggy, thank you. I wish you the best of the weekend, and I hope to see you soon in the studio. Thank you for coming. For those of you at home, thank you so much for joining us every Wednesday. It is always a privilege to come into your homes and to share these stories with you and to hear your thoughts on them as well. For the young lady who sent it in, I am so sorry this had to happen to you, but then like Miss Peggy and Pastor said, it is not the end of the world. Dust yourself up, make sure you speak to the right people, get your boss arrested, make sure that he pays for his actions, forgive yourself, pray, stand firm and speak up. Evil thrives in silence. Do not be quiet. And if it is a company that has other people, you'll be surprised that you are not the only one this man has tried this with. And when you step up and you come forward and you speak, you have people coming in to say, this has happened to me before. He's done this to me before. And you'll be surprised the community and the support you get as a result of you speaking up. So please do not think you're alone. Do not think that, do not let shame consume you. Speak up. Let the right authorities handle the situation. Protect yourself from such people. And if you find yourself in future in a situation where someone is asking you for a favor and you know that it is inappropriate, say no from the beginning to protect yourself and others as well. We'll be back same time next week with yet another interesting and educative story. This is Real Talk. Here we have real conversations with real people. But until then, please continue to enjoy the rest of the content on Hope TV Ghana. And do have yourselves a lovely evening.